Everyone credits the downfall of the Jedi Order to Palpatine. Palpatine's nearly perfect plan had the intention to wipe out the Jedi Order, which it did. Whether Palpatine intended on it or not, the true killer of the Jedi Order was not Order 66. Instead, it was the Jedi destroying themselves. The most ironic thing about the fall of the Jedi Order is some Jedi had no idea it was coming. Others thought the Jedi were at their strongest. The Jedi believed, because the Sith had not returned in basically forever, that they could never return. The most dangerous part of that line of thinking was how it was led and preached by the so-called wisest Jedi there ever was, Yoda. In this video, we're going to explore how the most elegant Jedi Order that trusted in the Force to make all their decisions became the Jedi Order that committed war crimes and did anything to win battles. The Clone Wars literally turned the Jedi Order into the very thing they swore to destroy. So let's explore where things started going wrong. Well, first, the Jedi didn't make decisions off what they thought was best and what they thought would benefit the people of the Republic and the greater good of the Jedi. Instead, slowly through hundreds of years, became pawns of the Senate. The Jedi turned from trusting in the Senate and democracy to literally doing missions for the chancellors and reporting issues and information to the Senate. The Jedi Order and the Republic became the same thing. To the average Republic citizen, the only way that they knew the Jedi existed is from their ancient temple on Coruscant. Children were told stories of the heroic Jedi Order that defended the people. Those stories no longer represented the current Jedi Order. If you think of the time of the Empire, you realize that the average citizen didn't remember the Jedi. How could that be? Well, one answer is the Empire changed history and left the Jedi out of the history. But the number one reason why they were forgotten is because they didn't do anything worth remembering. To a citizen in the Empire, when they think of Jedi, they think of generals in a war. The whole problem with the Jedi is it is so close to the Republic. Therefore, it shares the same benefits of the Republic, but also the same cons. Corruption in the Republic means corruption in the Jedi Order. So that's how the problems start in The Phantom Menace. Palpatine becomes Chancellor and he has bad intentions for the galaxy. Not only that, he has a plan to destroy the Jedi. And it's not too hard to see how he can destroy the Jedi. Even though he's technically not in charge of the Jedi Order, whatever he asks the Jedi to do, they will do. So he is in a way running the Jedi. The only thing he lacks is information on the supposedly greatest and most intellectual council in the galaxy. So he makes Anakin his informant on the Jedi Council so he learns their secrets. So what goes on the Jedi Council? Well, pretty much nothing. Anytime a concern arises, such as Qui-Gon saying Maul is a Sith Lord, no one believes this claim. They simply repeat the same thing about how they are the most powerful and it's impossible for the Sith to be out there. There's this ignorance that flows through the council that the Sith can't return. The only reason they think this is because the once mighty Jedi Order that disposed of the Sith. The problem with the council is that they boast about how powerful the Jedi Order was and how they destroyed the Sith. They never contemplate the possibility of what would happen if the Sith returned. Is the current Jedi Order capable of destroying the darkness? And they are partially correct. If a few Sith decided to make a stand and fight, they would lose. And that Jedi should know that if the Sith have been hiding for this long, they wouldn't reveal themselves without a clear and devastating plan. The Jedi's idea of the Sith return is just a lightsaber battle they know they would win. That line of thinking shows a lot about the Jedi Order. When they think Sith, they think dark robes, red lightsaber, but a true Sith is deceitful and cunning, and these are traits the Jedi have forgotten over time. And even though they speak so much about the Force, they don't even value it. They simply believe in it as a tool, a way to make things float. They are simply on the tip of the iceberg when they think about the Force, and they only take the face value of the Force. But even if they only take the Force at face value, sometimes they think the Force is lying to them. They think the Force is tricking them. The reason why the battle on Naboo is called the Duel of the Fates is because it's the fate of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin is a special case, and Qui-Gon is one of the only Jedi that believes in the Force more than he does the Jedi Order he serves in. The reason Qui-Gon was not on the council is because he was unpredictable and trusts his feelings, not the Republic, disobeying the order for what he believed was the better thing to do, and he would end up doing what the Jedi didn't do, what the Jedi didn't like. The Jedi had strict principles that didn't align with the Force. The reason so many Jedi fell to the dark side is because they were actually better people. Now I'm not talking about people like Maul. I'm talking about people like Dooku, who didn't want to be told how he can view things and how he lives his life. Dooku had a vision of a greater galaxy and greater good. Palpatine manipulated him to become a Sith. However, Dooku's intentions were good, but then were twisted by the manipulator that Palpatine is. The majority of the Jedi who left the Order left because they saw a way for a brighter future. And the number one thing that separates the Jedi Order and a Jedi like Anakin was that Anakin would put himself in danger and possibly mess up the mission to help those he cared about, such as in Revenge of the Sith when he wanted to help a lone clone trooper who was under attack. The Jedi Order would just complete the mission and not help those who have helped them. The Jedi views this as sacrifices for the greater good. The Jedi through the Clone Wars repeatedly sacrificed their beliefs and morals for victory. One way they did this was by literally sending Jedi kids with a lightsaber to fight in a war. But that is partially excusable as the Jedi needed all hands on deck as the Clone Wars progressed. More dangerous and code-breaking things happened, such as the multiple times the Jedi tortured their prisoners. Mace Windu, the leader of the Jedi Council, participated in the torture of Cad Bane as they searched his mind, similar to the interrogation of Rey in The Force Awakens. Cad Bane expressed a large amount of pain and pleaded for the Jedi to stop, and they never did. Now, while I have mentioned that Anakin is different from the Order and cares about people, he still commits similar crimes the Jedi does, and sometimes way worse. Some examples include choking prisoners for answers, and in Season 7 of the Clone Wars when Anakin kills Admiral Trench as he is unarmed. Ki-Adi-Mundi had his clones burn Geonosians to death, so that he could get to a rendezvous point quicker. My point of these examples is to show that even the highest members of the Jedi Order committed war crimes and didn't even hesitate doing this. Well, let's pause for a second. While the Jedi Order did terrible things, their intentions were good. So how did they overlook what they were doing? Well, I think it goes a little deeper than that they were just doing what they thought was right. The Jedi live a very simple lifestyle. They don't eat anything special, they live in crammed dorms, they don't do anything that you could say is fun. So when the Jedi Order was at peace long before the Phantom Menace, they would meditate and participate in diplomatic missions and be one with the Force. They were literally at that time just keepers of the peace. But once the Jedi became generals, every once in a while they would be tasked for a mission to help the Republic win the war. I think many Jedi viewed their worth as a Jedi on simply completing the mission. So some Jedi would take extreme lengths to win, including not only bending the Jedi Code, but entirely breaking it. And all the Jedi did these things to achieve victory, and because nobody in the Order was reflecting or dealing punishments for what was happening, this win-at-all-cost mentality got into the majority of the Jedi's brains. But every Jedi who was bending the code would come to the same Jedi temple at the end of the day and would talk about the Force and being one with the Force with other Jedi, while at the same time they were totally neglecting the Force and using it to just make things float in the sky. And the only way the Jedi could come back from this is if they kept committing war crimes and doing bad things, but they won the war. If they won the war, things would go back to normal, and Jedi would be keepers of the peace. They would reflect on what they did and realize that they were not being true honorable Jedi. That obviously didn't happen. Palpatine was controlling the war on both sides, so no matter how hard the Jedi fought to turn the tide of the war, they were stuck in the same place, and the only difference being that they were slowly ruining their reputation after every battle and every mission, and they were getting nothing out of it. It's interesting that when a normal character that is not Force sensitive could look at a Jedi and have no idea it was a Jedi. Quinlan Vos was a Jedi but certainly did not act like it, and he did not have proper Jedi etiquette. He hurt others for victory, and he didn't even look like a Jedi as he dressed closer to a Sith. The only way you could truly know if he was a Jedi is when he activated his lightsaber. This actually happens more than you think in the Clone Wars. Hondo Ohnaka, a pirate leader, was on a transmission with Darth Maul. Darth Maul was threatening him and his entire planet, and Hondo mistaked him for a Jedi. The Jedi don't threaten others, right? Well, a pirate who has seen the whole galaxy can't tell the difference between a Jedi and a Sith, even when his life is being threatened, shows the confusion the public has of the Jedi Order. So in the end, it seems fitting how the Jedi Order ended. When Mace was notified of Palpatine and how he was a Sith Lord, he rushed to his office because he was afraid of what would happen if he didn't. He could have sent a transmission to Yoda and Obi-Wan and told them they needed to come back immediately because Palpatine was the Sith Lord and he needed to be defeated. So why didn't he do that? Well, it's very simple. He didn't even 100% believe that Anakin was even telling the truth. So he did not only not ask the better Jedi for help, he didn't even tell them where he was going and what he was doing. So Mace Windu got out the Jedi B team, who got killed instantly because he was confident in himself and the dollar store Jedi Masters that he brought with him. So those Jedi deaths are fitting to their blindness, and that goes with some of the Jedi that died in Order 66. So while Palpatine had a major hand in the destruction of the Order, I hope this video offered another perspective. The perspective that perhaps the Jedi Order destroyed itself from the inside out. Thanks for watching. If you want longer videos like this, hit that like button to show your support. And have a great day.
Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy.